GettingPositiveKarmaNow.com presents Bhagavad Gita for All, lectures by Nalan K. Narula, recorded in front of a live audience.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So last time we had completed text 13 of chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, and today we will take up the sequence following that. Sri Krishna is explaining the nature of consciousness and Prakriti and so on. Is something wrong here?
Just put the spotlight video on. Just click on the TTMH.
आप कर लो ना. Why don't you do it? If you know what to do, please do it. We don't need the fan. You put on the fan at slow speed.
Settings are okay.
Not working?
For some reason, this computer has become the host. Sorry.
So we had completed text 13 last time of chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita. Nature, consciousness, the enjoyer. And today we will look at the sequence going forward. So text 14. Sarvata pani padam tat sarvato kshi kshiro mukham sarvata shruti mal loke sarvam avritya tishtati. Sarvata Pani Padam Tat Sarvata Akshi Shira Mukham. Everywhere there are his hands and legs, his eyes and faces. And Sarvata Shrutimat Loke Sarvam Avritya Tishtati. Everywhere he can hear everything. And this is the nature of the Supersoul. So there is a transition point between the Brahma energy, which is underlying all life, and then coming to the point of the origin of that Brahma energy, which is the Paramatma. So it is clearly understood that the Supreme Lord has all these qualities of all pervasiveness. And the distinction between the individual Atma and Paramatma is simply that the Supersoul Paramatma aspect of the Lord is everywhere, but the individual Atma is not. It is limited to within what is knowable within the body. And here it is stated clearly that the divine aspect, Supersoul aspect, is simultaneously present everywhere, and he can simultaneously hear, see, take and go anywhere, anytime, unlike the individual. So it is clearly about the Supersoul and not about the Atma. Text 15 goes on to expand this further. Sarvendriya guna bhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarva bhrich chaiva nirgunam guna bhoktra cha. So of all the senses, he is the original source, and yet he is sarva indriya vivarjitam, without those senses of attachment, asaktam. That means, in other words, his senses are transcendental. Our senses are limited, whereas his senses are unlimited. So when it is said that he is without senses, doesn't mean he is formless. It is referring to the quality of the senses, that these are transcendental. That means above and beyond the material aspect, which is his separated inferior energy he has established earlier. So Sarvendriya guna bhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarva bhrich chaiva nirgunam guna bhoktracha. He is simultaneously the maintainer of all living entities and beyond the material modes of nature, and at the same time he is the master of the material modes of nature. Guna bhoktracha gunascha. Guna bhoktra gunash. Guna bhoktracha. He is without the material qualities, and yet he is the master of these. So this is easy to understand if we consider his previous statements earlier, that the material modes of nature, first of all, are his separated superior energies, and then the elemental and the false ego, mind and intelligence are his separated inferior energies. So they are different. So, but he is master of all. So that is very, very clearly understandable. Then we have text 16. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charam evacha sukshmatvat tad avigyayam durastham chantike chatat. The supreme truth is internal and externally existing. It is there in moving entities and non-moving entities. Something has happened here. It's gone. Okay. The Supreme Truth is in the moving and the non-moving entities, and He is beyond the power of all the material senses to see or to know anything. And even though He is very far, He is also very near. Okay. So this text 16 again, Bahir antascha bhutanam acharam charam evacha sukshmatvat tad avigyayam durastham chanti ke chatat. So the Supreme Truth is existing internally and externally. Internally inside each living entity and externally in the world also, in other living entities, plus in actually at a subatomic level everywhere. And on account of being subtle, sukshmatvat, He is beyond the power of all material senses to be known. And even though He is far away, He is also nearby. So many definitions have been given here. And if we look at the Isha Upanishad, the 5th mantra, this is Isha Upanishad is the synoptic Bible, you can say, or the synoptic rule book of the essence of the divine, the essential aspect, in just about limited number of shloks. So that is the 5th mantra is Tad ejati tan naijati tad dure tad va antike tad antar asya sarvasya tad u sarvasyasya bahyata. That means the Supreme Lord, He does not walk, but He also walks everywhere. He can go, He is far away and He is very near. And He is within everything, and again He is outside of everything. So this is a confirmation from the Isha Upanishad, which is the Upanishad relating to the Supreme Divine. And these are again mentions of His transcendental nature. So when we say that Lord is Gun, Nirgun, the Nirgun means He is without the material defects. That is Nirgun. So when people say Sagun, Nirgun, it is actually a confusion if they are confusing material nature or a materialistic form with His transcendental form. And then to clarify this further, we have text 17. We have so far stated that He is within all the living entities, He is everywhere, He is also subatomic, He is at the center of every atom because He is inside and outside, He is superior to the living entity. The living entity, if the living entity aspect is everywhere, then the super soul also has to be everywhere. It is a logical conclusion that if the super soul is everywhere, it has to be super to something or above something, and that is the living entity, even though he may be in a very active or inactive form. So he has mentioned earlier that whether the entity is active or inactive, he is simultaneously present. So he is actually present in every atom, and that is called the Vishnu aspect, that one who is at the center of every atom in the universe. The subatomic particle is Vishnu, or that aspect of Krishna. So then we have text 17. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva cha sthitam bhuta bhartra cha tajgyayam grasinishu prabhavishnu cha. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu, although the living entity appears to be divided among so many other living entities, the super soul rather, although the super soul appears to be divided within so many living entities, he is vibhaktam, undivided. He is situated as one, even though he is simultaneously present in many. So one may consider this to be like if the sun is one and it is reflecting in many bodies of water, he appears as many different bodies of water and a different individual or a different sun, but actually it is the same sun. So if you have many containers of water, in each you will see the sun reflected. It doesn't mean the sun is divided itself. It is one, but it is simultaneously present in many. So we can understand it that way. Although he is the maintainer of all living entities, it is to be understood that Grasishnu Prabhavishnu Cha, that he is Grasishnu means one who devours, one who eats, and Prabhavishnu means one who develops. So he is the destroyer and the maintainer. So he is simultaneously the destroyer and the maintainer of all. So this is very, very important to understand, that as in his expansion of time, he destroys everything. He said earlier that time I am the destroyer of worlds, and he is also the generator of the worlds. So simultaneously he creates. When he creates, he is there. When he destroys, he is there. And when nothing is there, he is still there. So that is said in the Brahma mantras that we have, which is the prayers of Lord Brahma to Krishna. So this is then we go to text 18. Jyotisam api tad jyotis tasma tamasah param uchyate jnanam jnayam jnanagamyam hridi sarvasya vishtitam. So Jyotisam api jyoti, he is also simultaneously the source of all light, and he is all the bright or luminous objects himself, and he is beyond darkness. Tasma param uchyate is beyond darkness of all things. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge. He is the goal of knowledge. And Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam, he is situated in everyone's heart. So this whole sequence is discussing the super soul aspect, presence of Lord Krishna in everyone's heart. So we have text 19 that says iti kshetram tatha jnanam jnayam choktam samasata mad bhakta etad vijnana mad bhava papadyate. So this is the field of activities, kshetram, iti kshetram. This is the field of activities, that is the body, the knowledge and the knowable. These Uktam, Cha Uktam have been described also by me, by Krishna. In summary, Samasata, Mat Bhakta Etat Vijnana. After only my devotee can understand this, and after that understanding, coming to that understanding, then only Vijnana means practical understanding. Mat Bhavya Upadatyate, then my devotee can attain to my nature. So this nature is available only at the point of losing all the material coverings and coming to the stage of enlightenment and understanding who Krishna is and understanding that nature of Krishna. And then they can understand similarly as Krishna. That means then there is no restriction of time. There is no past, present, future. Everything is knowable by them also. So these are very, very important understandings. Very, very significant And if we look at what other acharyas have said about it, we can understand that they are all talking about these. For example, we had talked earlier of the 20 spiritual endowments or the 20 spiritual qualities, and the one who works with this kind of understanding and comes to the point of knowing this in reality, then he becomes a devotee of Lord Krishna. And once he becomes a devotee of Lord Krishna, only then he attains to the exclusive loving transcendental service of Krishna and becomes entitled to attain liberation. So these two are combined, that if you are working in the service of Krishna, you will eventually become free. And if you are working to free yourself, you have to be eventually a devotee of Lord Krishna. So at some point, that needs to be integrated, and not just the moksha aspect. We have discussed moksha earlier, that moksha is available, but it is incomplete without the devotional service aspect to Krishna. So all the previous acharyas are agreed on this from all the four sampradayas. There is no contradiction or confusion, because if we look at the commentaries of Sri Ramanujacharya or Sridhar Swami or Madhvacharya or Keshav Kashmiri, they're all saying the same thing. So another interesting thing to understand is that actually all the four sampradayas are aimed at getting person to the point of liberation and to understand that Krishna is the Supreme. So they are also actually Vaishnava Sampradayas, whether it is the Rudra Sampradaya or the Shiva Sampradaya, also known sometimes as Shiva Sampradaya. They are all actually aimed at understanding that Krishna is the Supreme. There may be some misunderstanding that Lord Shiva is Supreme, but that is not so, or that Devi is Supreme, but that is again not so. They have limited jurisdiction in the material universe, and beyond that is only Krishna. So again, text 19, where Krishna is saying that he has described these field of activity, the body, the knowledge, the knowable, nature, and in a summary form, and only his devotees can understand this thoroughly and then attain to his nature, which is similar. So you have to be rid of the binding consequences of karma. You have to be rid of the good and the so-called bad, and you have to be focused on the non-binding consequence of karma action, which will eventually get you to the point of service to Krishna. Now you may be unknowingly engaged in the service of Krishna, but Krishna has used this word Vijnanaya, understanding properly, practical understanding, Gyan, Vijnan, acquired knowledge and experiential knowledge. So you must have both. So that is possible when you, for example, hear the Bhagavad Gita and you begin to understand its import and what significance it has for you as karmic healers. So you are beyond the aspect of just being karmic healers as Reiki channels and so on, that it is the point of coming to the understanding that you are actually engaged in the service of Krishna and how to further it. So we will conclude this session with text 19. We have done from 14 to 19 today of chapter 13. So if there are any questions, I will take some questions now. Yeah, so somebody had a question.
Nidhi has a question.
Yes, yes.
How do we be a devotee of Lord Krishna?
By chanting the Maha Mantra and working in the consciousness that everything you're doing is coming empowered by Krishna through the Reiki energy, plus that you are able to see that he exists everywhere. If you are an advanced level of Reiki channel like Reiki 2, we have explained that one of the symbols is actually the super soul connecting symbol. That's how the networking takes place. So even at Reiki 1 it takes place, but unknown to you, or you are not conscious of it. But in the second level of Reiki, it is going from heart to heart, from the Supreme Heart to your heart to the heart of the Healy. And even when you initiate somebody, it is always heart, Supreme Heart to your heart to the heart of the Healy. So this networking has been set up already. It is already existing. You just don't have the detailed knowledge of it, which you are now getting through the Bhagavad Gita. So you are basically, if you are able to see that Krishna is in every living entity, then that is a service. Then you are engaged in the proper understanding and service of Krishna as you move through life. So it is not difficult that you see Krishna everywhere. That is how you see him everywhere. When you have the understanding that the super soul exists everywhere. So if you pay attention to these statements of Krishna and correlate with what you have received in terms of the Reiki understanding, you'll find that they're absolutely identical. There is no discrepancy, there is no deviation. It is just an expansion of that knowledge now coming to you through the Bhagavad Gita. So your job as a healer, or your work as a healer, is to see that wherever you're channeling healing to, Krishna exists there. Because that is how the healing is going. It's not going from Atma to Atma. It is super soul. The energy is not yours. It is coming from the Supreme Divine. And it is being networked through the super soul. So you have a universal networking only through the super soul, because only the super soul is everywhere, which is how you can send the healing across time and space. Otherwise it's not possible. And you are not sending, you are invoking it. So that's why you are a channel only. So you need to keep these few things in mind, and if you orient your approach to people accordingly, then you are in the service of Krishna. And you are chanting the Maha Mantra, you are in the service of Krishna. You are in the process of purifying and getting to the point of enlightenment and liberation from material bindings. That is how it works. Okay? Yes.
Then how does Durga Devi and Ganeshji, how they also play a role in moving this person forward spiritually?
Well, Durga Devi and Lord Ganesh are the designated, you can say, gatekeepers of certain chakras, of certain areas of perception. But if you are going directly to the Supreme Source, you need not approach these, because those gateways will automatically open for you. So we don't have to approach Durga Devi separately. We don't have to approach Lord Ganesh separately. Krishna is time and time again saying exclusive devotional service to me. Not to Lord Ganesh, not to Durga Devi, not to Lord Shiva, not to anybody else. If you go to Lord Vishnu, that is still not exclusive. It's different. Because they are simultaneously the separated expansions of Krishna. You are at the level of Vishnu. But if you want to approach Krishna, then you have to go, you have to leave Vishnu behind also. It is like the gopis in Vrindavan, in the spiritual sky. Once Lord Vishnu appeared, and so they said, please, we don't want to see you. Krishna changed to Lord Vishnu. He said, no, we don't want this 400 form. We want only the 200 form. So they are not beguiled by Vishnu's aspect. So that is the objective. Those who worship Vishnu, yes, fine, okay, so then you will reach Vishnu level. But those who are worshipping Krishna, then they will go to Krishna. Krishna has shown his universal form. And Arjun said also, I don't want to see the 400 form. I want to see the 200 form. Because that is the original. You can go anywhere in between, that's your choice. But Krishna is saying that you should come to me. And he is also saying not everyone will come to me. So your choice. So if you aim for the highest, aim for the supreme. It's not that Vishnu is less. Please let us be very clear about this. Lord Vishnu is an unseparated expansion of Lord Krishna himself in a different mood. But those who want to approach him in that mood, they can approach him, like Lord Ram, for example, is a two-handed form also. Or Lord Balram. Very powerful expansion, the first expansion of Krishna. Balram on one side, Radharani on the other side. From Radharani come all the Devis, from Balram come all the Vishnus. So Krishna is not himself doing anything, he's delegated everything. So he is separate and away from all these, and yet he is simultaneously present as the Paramatma form everywhere. So this is something that you need to look into and study to get your understanding. So as you look over these shlokas, and if you go through the understanding of what this means, you will gradually get more understanding.
So Radharani comes down as Reiki.
Well, Reiki is coming from Radharani. You can say that. Because that is the supportive energy of the entire universe. Again, some steps removed. So it is the... You can say that the Reiki or the Brahma energies are the life support energies. That is the spirit. And the soul is different from the spirit, and the Paramatma is different from the spirit also. The soul is living on that spiritual energy. That is its nourishment. The source of which is Krishna. And the channeling agency is Paramatma, also Krishna, on the basis of which we are alive. So we have to keep that in mind. So not to confuse ourselves, as to who is what. It is very clear, Krishna is the source of everything, internal and external. He is the Paramatma everywhere. And although he appears to be divided, he is one. He is not divided. He is not divisible. The soul is similarly not divisible. But it is very small quantity compared to Krishna. Krishna knows every living entity and every living body. We don't. So every individual body only, every individual living entity only knows this body. But Krishna knows all the bodies. Past, present, future, those that have manifested, not manifested, he knows them all. So the Brahma Samhita says, that whether the material universe is there or not there, Krishna always exists. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karan Karanam. So, Ishvara Parma Krishna, Satchitananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karan Karanam. So that is the first shlok of the 5th chapter. The 100 verses that exist of Lord Brahma's prayer to Krishna. So this is very, there can be a lot of scholarly discussion about it, but there is no need. It is very clear. The scholars have already done the work for us, the spiritual scholars. We just need to work with this in the right perspective and understand it as so. Okay.
One question.
Yes.
Guy, I'm just
Yes.
unmute himself.
Yeah.
Good morning, Master.
Good morning, guy.
Master, I am trying to be clear for myself, so it's basically understanding, if my understanding is in place. What I'm saying is that there are many rules and regulations in the, let's say, scriptures about, let's say, how to offer foodstuff and other types of procedures. What I personally perceive is that we are very fortunate as being Reiki channels and KQ4 healers, that we have the grace of the direct working with the light, so I can basically have devotion at heart by flowing with Reiki and the Keiki force, and therefore I'm not, let's say, I don't have to do the specific, let's say, instruction on how to offer food. I can do it by covering it with Reiki and the Keiki force. Is that a correct understanding?
Yes, it is. You can correct the understanding. Yeah, that is the correct understanding, that if you are channeling or applying the Reiki energy to all the food, and if you think of Krishna as the source of all that there is, then yes, you are making an offering, and you can actually offer this to him. And as in these shlokas, Krishna said that although he has no hands and legs in the material sense, whatever you offer he will accept with his hand anywhere. So you can offer this to him. So you can make the same kind of offering to him, that please partake of this, and then you eat it as a purified offering. And when you are doing the Reiki healing to the food, it is actually creating that situation for you. So whether you know it or you don't know it, if you know it, it's better. So that's all right.
Grateful.
Okay.
Grateful, sir.
Okay. Because there is no other way that the food is going to get decontaminated from material consequence. Only Krishna can do it. So unknown to us, also Krishna is doing it. If we have that understanding, then we develop a more personalized relationship with what we do in relationship with Krishna. So then we make him the center. So if he becomes the center of everything that we do, that is perfection. Okay. Yes.
So Lord Krishna's 400 form is different from the 400 form of Lord Vishnu.
400 form of Krishna is Vishnu. 400 form is Vishnu. 200 form is Krishna. And his first expansion, Lord Balaram. Then there is Lord Ram. So there also actually from Lord Balaram comes all the other expansions. So there is Mahavishnu, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Upendra, I think. So then from the second Vishnu is the material expansion. So it's a whole chain like that. Okay. So we have done 14 through 18? 19. Okay. 14 through 19 of chapter 13. So we will conclude here at the 19th text of chapter 13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, thank you. See you next week.
You've been listening to Nalan K. Narula on GettingPositiveKarmaNow.com.